Hello guys, Smokey here. So for this next video, we're going to be talking about Forgeweaver Araz, which is the fourth boss in the Mana Forge Omega raid. This is definitely a step up than the first three bosses. It took us, I'd say about 100 pulls to kill this one, and there is a lot that we can do, and so there is a lot that we can talk about. All right, and if you've watched any of the videos, then you'll know that this isn't somewhere to sit and watch how I do every single button of the rotation. It's more just to focus on special areas that, you might be able to creep out extra DPS or things that are specific to the Devastation Evoker that you should be aware of when you are progressing Forgeweaver Araz fight on Mythic difficulty. Okay, so first of all, I actually did really well on this boss. I managed to get a 96 pass, which is extremely high. I was quite happy with this. If we have a look at the breakdown of the damage between, something like Forgeweaver Araz and the manifestations, I was down in sixth place here for my, let's just say my single target damage, but priority damage, boss damage down in sixth place, pretty much in the middle, nothing crazy going on here. But if we go and look at the arcane manifestations, we were definitely up there, right? We are probably, if I wasn't just having an absolutely great pull and it was every other pull, one of the main contributors to the manifestations, if not the highest, alongside Shadow Priest. My teammate Copperman here did a really good job as well, and then obviously Frost Mage, etc. Things like that. So we're really good here. We're really good to have. Yes, the Evoker's never really good at priority damage, but the way the fight lines up, if tanked correctly, we can get the best of both worlds. So sixth on the boss damage and being able to be one of the highest contributors to the manifestations is really powerful. Okay, so just to kind of break down some of the major differences that I see on this fight. One is, we're taking off some of the talents, which are more focused around, let's just say, the single target build, Iridescence, Power Swell, Catalyze, and what we're doing is we're loading up a bit more on the AoE. So having 2 stacks of Volatility, which increases the chance of an additional Pyre to be spawned. Firestorm, if you've been running Mythic Plus, you've probably been using the Firestorm build. Really handy here. It's just, AFK AoE damage, really useful to have when you're trying to focus on other things. There is a lot going on in this fight. And then obviously Snapfire. Snapfire allows us to have 3 instant casts of Firestorm throughout the fight as well. In terms of just like utility, I would say you're probably going to be asked to be using your knockback, which is called Wing Buffet. That's what you need. We do also have Tail Swipe, but all it does is really, knock enemies up in the air. I don't really see it actually doing anything crazy. I did consider having Shape of Flame on, but they're not doing any damage to us either. So it's a bit of a wasted talent choice if we went there. Another key talent here is Repressing Roar, increasing the duration of all crowd control effects on mobs. Really powerful. Now, we actually only had 1 Evoker on our team. If we had 2, this would have been really great. We could have potentially alternated, just with the 2-minute CD of Pressing Roar being quite high. We didn't. I used my knockbacks twice in the fight, I think, overall. Another cool one would be Landslide. If you really needed it, Landslide's pretty cool. It will catch mobs, that are running off, and it will hold them still. Forger of Mountains will reduce that down by 30 seconds, and it makes it even more tolerant to extra damage. I'll be honest with you, there's so much damage going on these ads that it's just going to be removed straight away. Where this could be cool is at the very end of the fight. If you wanted to just completely ignore the ads, let them get all the way down to where the void is, you could chuck Landslide out, and they would be sitting there not being able to do anything. And you could basically then just focus on boss damage. But again, you don't really want to let the fight get to that stage, to be honest with you. If you're doing that, you're probably doing something else wrong. So, like I said, the main things here are to switch your talents over to a bit more of an AoE build. Don't worry, you still get good single target, as shown there, if you play it right. That's the main things to notice on the talents. So, like I said, Firestorm was pretty cool. Contributed 348 million of my damage. Really useful. We held Bloodlust to the end of the fight. There's a damage amp on the boss. It's actually extremely short. I think it's about 10 or 11 seconds, the damage amp. But you want to make sure you've got your Dragon Rage open for that Bloodlust window as you're coming into this. Now, when the boss triggers its damage out windows depends on how quickly you kill the things called collectors in the fight, and so it might not obviously line up perfectly with how you're playing, but there is just a general rule to follow, and I'll talk through that when we get to the video. Our main damage output is going to be Engulf. If already it isn't on our single target damage, then it's going to be when we have additional mobs around it as well. Casting Engulf on the boss, really important for that single target damage, but obviously as we have additional manifestations and echoes, these are all mobs in the fight, they're going to be cleaved at the same time as when you're hitting these engulfs. Fire Breath, of course, because that's going to line up to your engulf, the max ranking, and Firestorm is awesome. Disintegrate and Pyre, you'll notice that I cast Pyre 40 times in this fight. That's pretty good. There is a lot of AoE, like I said. You can just sit there blasting pyres onto the ads, but what we found was that we weren't having enough boss damage. So I actually tried out a build for a couple of nights where I didn't go for the Firestorm, and it didn't really make that much of a difference, to be honest with you. So having pyre and maining pyres instead of disintegrate when there is ads, and then switching to disintegrate when there isn't, I think it was a fine balance. Especially with volatility as well, having an additional pyre could make up for a disintegrate cast sort of thing. So yeah, it's kind of as you'd expect. Just making sure we have Firestorm and looking at pyres is the main difference, I would say, that we care about for this fight. So let's actually walk through the kill, and I'll talk through what I found. So we open up without Bloodlust. Okay, so again, typical opener: Eternity Surge, Dragon Rage. Only one Living Flame, by the way, because I've got the talent on where my Shattering Star will proc an Essence Burst. So I'm so used to casting double Living Flame at the start to get two Essence Bursts. You don't need to do that anymore because we have that talent on, which bursts of the Shattering Star. So I only need to cast one Living Flame, Shattering Star, which will give you the second Essence Bomb. So again, this is an inner flame window. I'm blasting as much as I can, and just trying to proc as many Essence Bombs as I possibly can do. So you'll see that I put the Firestorm down there. I think it's worth doing. You could hold on to these Firestorms and wait for the ads to spawn. Just get it out. If you've got a proc there that's just going to give you an instant cast, just cast it. It's good for additional damage on something like Forgeweaver Araz. The fight does get a little bit hectic later on, so it's just worth doing. And then obviously, a Firestorm at this point, where the manifestations are getting knocked back into the vortex, somewhere in front of it, we positioned our boss. Like at this moment here, you can see like he's kind of on the edge. I'll be honest with you, we would love him to be right in front, but we never ended up doing it. He was just off center. So catching a Firestorm, which is just half on the vortex circle, half out, that's where the manifestations are going to come. That's where we put all our binding shots and all of our crowd controls. We want it at the front of this circle. So when you're casting your Firestorms, just think about where the manifestations are going to be for a longer period of time, because that's where you're going to get the most uptime from your Firestorms. Okay, so there's a soak at the start. We actually switched this round and put the soak in where everyone was standing because we had problems with that at the beginning, and then the most important thing for us here is making sure we get our engulfs and hitting every target. So where I'm positioned, I've cast my max rank Fire Breath. I've managed to hit Araz and all 4 manifestations, and then I can go ahead and click engulf, and that's going to go and give me some damage on all 5 of these enemies. Now this spawns an Echo, and I just switched my target to the Echo after the manifestations have died. So during that moment, I'm proccing in Essence Bursts, and I'm using them on pyres, right? When there's more than one target, I'm definitely going to be using pyre there instead of disintegrate. But at this moment in time, I'm just focusing on the Echo. My job is to bring down the Echo as quickly as possible. Disintegrate, disintegrate, disintegrate everything. Okay? Just remember, if you bring these two things together, then you're not going to be able to do damage to them. So that's just something natural, which I think is even a heroic mechanic. So one thing I did want to bring up there was the collectors. Now, they're going to periodically shoot out what is called... I actually kind of forgot what the name of these things were. I'll go and have a look. They shoot out these swallies on the floor, and you have to dodge them. Really handy. Just make sure you've got hover. Okay, I'm trying to not move as much as possible, and as soon as these things get spawned, you know what? I've got a hover if I really wanted to and anything was getting in my way. I'd pop a hover and then I would just move around and cast at the same time. Really handy to make sure you have them. They essentially one-shot people. Well, they did it when we were progging this anyway, so it's really, really, really useful to have. Okay, so you'll see right there, the manifestation spawned. I had a firestorm proc, so I'm actually just going to go and drop it right in the front of this circle, because all of these manifestations are going to start coming down and they're going to be getting hit by that firestorm in that circle. There we go. So they're already in there getting damage taken from firestorm. I've loaded up another fire breath. I've got a shattering star that's about to come down. I'm still targeting Araz, and I have an engulf ready. Okay, so I've max ranked my fire breath, shattering star. I cast my engulf. It was like 2 seconds ago now, or just up here. So I would have caught my my engulf on the manifestations as well. Great. This is how you're going to be getting the most amount of damage. Now, saying this, it does really rely on your tanks positioning Araz in the right place, and on top of that, everybody keeping the manifestations in the right place. If the manifestations are too far back in the middle of the vortex, even the melee aren't going to be able to hit them, so it's not just you that really wants this. We want them at the closest front of the circle as possible. This is where we kind of naturally ended up bringing everything towards. It happens. It happens eventually. It might take a few pulls or a night just to make sure everyone understands what they're doing, but that seems to be the hot spot. So if you just position your firestorm right at that pot, like the spot where everyone's stacking, that's going to be where you hit most of the damage. And then obviously we want as much damage on Araz as possible. When I first started progging this, I was actually switching to manifestations because Araz was so far away that I wasn't getting enough manifestation damage to bring them down quickly. But we corrected that, and it's something which I think happens naturally as well. So try and be targeting Araz as much as you possibly can. Again, I've got another Firestorm procced here. That's for me to do. Now, I don't know if you're going to use certain weak auras specifically. We have one which tells me exactly when I'm supposed to use my crowd controls. I have a wing buffet lined up and an oppressing roar. Not much really to say here. Just make sure you do what you need to. Okay, this is the most important part of the fight. Making sure you hit what's asked of you. You need to hit your wing buffet at the right moment. You need to knock those manifestations back into the vortex. If you do not, the void tear, that's what it's called. If you do not, people can't damage them, and it will wipe the raid. So at this moment in time, it's like nothing else matters. Just make sure you hit your CCs. Now, what you did notice is I actually had a chance to cast a Firestorm. I thought, you know what, I'm going to be using Wind Buffet and Oppressing Roar. Doesn't take too long to cast these things, but it is a second or two, right? And I have a Firestorm proc, so I quickly put the Firestorm down because I'm not going to be doing damage right now. Then I put my Wing Buffet, then I hit my Oppressing Roar, and meanwhile, that Firestorm's doing damage, right? It's still got uptime on all the manifestations. Maybe I could have put it a bit closer to the Void Tear. Absolutely fine, we're still hitting most of them. Okay, so remember, at this moment in time, Pyre, we've got volatility as well, so hopefully they're going to bounce off and catch other things. And you'll see at this point, the manifestations actually started to get away from each other. Why? Because this person here hasn't casted their last CC. I think that disappears when you've cast yours. When I cast my Wing Buffet, mine disappeared. When you cast my Oppressing Roar, mine disappeared. I think this implies that person didn't cast their move what they were supposed to, and you'll see the manifestations are starting to get away from themselves. At this moment in time, I think it's worth to switch to the manifestations. Okay, as you can see from the logs at the beginning, we are one of the biggest damage dealers to manifestations. This isn't someone doing a little bit of damage. We are doing a very large amount of damage to these things. So if we're not targeting them, there's a good chance that they last a lot longer than we need them to, right? And that just risks wiping. So I do switch to manifestations here just because they get away from us a little bit, and I come over to finish them off with some more pyres. So again, we have those. I need to go find out what those things are called because it's kind of bugging me actually. I forgot what they're called. Prime Sequence. There we go. They're called Prime Sequence. Those things that come out are called Prime Sequence, and yeah, avoid them. If you got a hover, I need to move. Please do. So this is an interesting point as well. So you are probably going to be asked to stack at some point to drop the ads in front of the Void Tear. All right. Now, when you do this, there is also a chance that it crosses over with the assignment of Wing Buffet and Oppressing Roar. In my case, it was both. It doesn't happen on this poll. It doesn't happen here. But the assignments are completely random of when you get asked to drop these manifestations. So there's no control of when you're going to get it. I said that you should probably hover when you're avoiding the prime sequences. It's really nice to save a hover for that. It's really important that you save a hover for this crossover. If you ever have to stack and drop the ads, and you are also the person that has to knock them back, then you have, I think it's maybe 1 second after you've dropped the ad to step backwards and then knock in the manifestations into the void tear. All right, so it's going to drop here. I don't have to do it, but you can just see how quickly they stay there. Right, they've spawned now. One, and someone else did it, but they would have moved very quickly. So it's really, really handy to always have a hover spare. So if you've got to do it, right, if you've got this crossover, what you do is you'd hover before it happens. You drop the manifestations. You could already be facing this direction I am now, and you could basically just walk backwards. The reason you don't want to just actually be walking backwards is because it's too slow, and you want to kind of be as 5 to 10 yards as quickly as possible, just so you're not knocking the manifestations everywhere. All right, so having a hover there will really, really help you if you've also got to do the mechanic of knocking them back. Hover, drop the ads, step back, then you can use Wing Buffet to get them in. Okay, you might be able to switch it around with someone on the fly. I don't know if you've got 2 evokers and one of you could then take over the other person's. I think it gets too complicated. I tested this out at the start. I failed it 1 time. Every other time then it was absolutely fine. Okay, so just, yeah, make sure you got hover for that. That's really, really important. So again, Firestorm's up. I'm max ranking at Fire Breath. If I got any engulfs, great. If I don't, it's okay. You know, it's only if it's available. There is one of these void tears where we encourage everyone to step around the back because it had a nasty crossover with these puddles on the floor. I'm not going to go into the puddle logic. That's just on a general strategy video. But that does mean that the manifestations aren't going to be on the boss, you know, at the very beginning. But they're caught up now. They're all underneath the boss. I cast my Fire Breath. I catch all of them. I cast the Engulf on Araz, and it should have hit all 5 of those manifestations. Again, another Firestorm just getting in there. And as you'll see, these manifestations are spawning faster and faster now. So this is just a combination of Pyres, because I had them available. Firestorm, I had a Shattering Star, I cast it. A Fire Breath, max rank, and then I had an Engulf. Now, going into the collectors, kind of a tough part. We struggled with this for a while, and we also struggled with the idea that manifestations are still alive. So we had, I think it was the Frost Mage, who was just focused on finishing these off. I'll be honest with you, I chucked a couple of Firestorms, I chucked some Pyres, because again, we do really pretty brutal damage to these manifestations. So what I try and do when the collectors spawn and we get told to go to the collectors is I'll start moving across, and as I'm moving across, cast some Pyres, etc., right? So I cast a Living Flame. I saw they were going to die, so on this one I actually didn't do too much damage on them. They were already gonna go. But there's sometimes where it can be... they've still got 50% health left, for example. So if it's worth you casting a Fire Breath and an Engulf just to help the Frost Mage out, well, in our case, the Frost Mage, I think it's really worth it. You could use a hover here. I don't know why. It's like I was trying to be really clever with my hovers and not burn through them. You could have hovered here and not have to do this left and right jig that I'm doing every single time a beam comes out. I didn't do it. I don't know why. I preferred not to. I just moved left and right. Probably being a bit lazy, or me being overcautious with my hovers, because I know I'm going to need them for other parts of the fight. But yeah, that's why I'm not hovering at this moment in time. Zephyr is obviously great talent to have. You should probably have it on every raid build, and if you know, used at the right moment, should be really, really powerful. You take a lot of damage on these collectors, especially when you're progressing them, so it's a really good time to use it. Now, one thing I forgot to talk about was actually the Dragon Rages. And the reason I want to bring up the Dragon Rages now is because you'll notice that the time is currently 3 minutes and 42 seconds into the fight, and we have a damage amp now. Okay, so 3 minutes, 45 seconds into the fight, we have a damage amp. My Dragon Rage isn't available for 18 seconds. Okay, this damage amp is only 11 seconds long. Yeah, 11 seconds long. Which means that by the time the damage amp is finished, I'm not even going to have my Dragon Rage up. So I did think maybe it's worth just holding the Dragon Rage for the damage amp. But if you do that, I think it ends up that you're going to lose an entire Dragon Rage from the fight. It is not worth it. Okay? So the advice I'm going to give you for your Dragon Rages is as soon as it becomes available, you cast it. All right? So you cast one on pull, obviously. About 2 minutes into the fight, you get your second one. Cast it instantly. Even if there's no ads around, even if there's nothing really significant to use it on, Here, I used mine there, right? Luckily, the ads were spawning, so it kind of felt like a good time to do it. So I dropped my Firestorm on the floor very quickly. There we go. I cast my Dragon Rage. I had another Firestorm, so I put that down and cast my Engulf. But getting that Dragon Rage off on your 2 minutes is really, really important, and I'll show you why later on. So we've got the damage amp. Unfortunately, I don't have Dragon Rage for it, but it's okay. It is what it is. Other people have got damage. You'll see them start climbing up the leaderboard. Luckily, I had 2 Engulfs ready to go, which is awesome. So that's my big single target damage. And there's also 2 Attendants nearby Araz also. So there's extra damage coming off there as well. So now we're going to go and repeat basically phase 1, but half the size. It's like a mini phase 1. At this point, we've got 3 collectors coming. You'll see here, this is the hover technique I was talking about. I had a hover, I popped it. I'm honestly casting Disintegrates and just staring at the floor. You do not want to get hit by one of these. You lose so many people from doing it. It's yeah, it's a pain. So in this one, I don't have a Firestorm procced, but I do have a Fire Breath ready. So I actually timed it. So as soon as they spawned, I was able to get Fire Breath off on all these manifestations. And in this situation, one of the manifestations actually kind of left the pack. It was going quite fast. Now, what I should have done really was stay on Araz. You'll see I've switched targets now. I should have stayed on Araz and carried on cleaving it, or single targeted this manifestation. I was worried about this manifestation getting too close to the collector, and as you can see, we're already on the second set of manifestations, and that first one still hasn't died. It will probably die. You've got everyone in the raid trying to kill these things, so they are going to go down. Have a little bit of faith. And even if that manifestation was still like stuck here in this middle bit, you're about to drop some manifestations on the left-hand side anyway. They're going to cross over, and so you're going to basically create this central point, which is like the middle of this circle, where all the manifestations are just going to be cleaved at the same time. So don't worry too much. Just make sure none of them go into the holes. So I just cast a rank 1 Fire Breath there. Probably a little bit of a mistake, actually. I tried casting it. I then wanted to pull out, but unfortunately I couldn't. I'd let go, and it's cast it at rank 1. Fine, you know what, this is why I probably could have got a bit more damage out of this, to be honest with you. I don't, so I'm just going to toss my Pyres in, get a Firestorm in there, awesome. Living Flame proc, awesome. Again, I'm making sure we kill those manifestations before we get on to the next. And again, I am assigned here to do a Wing Buffet and an Oppressing Roar. I intentionally don't use my Wing Buffet here because they get dragged through the Void Tear. I never... need to knock them back into it. All right, I hold it. I basically hold on to it in case I need to use it. Whereas when the manifestations are getting dropped in front of the puddle, I have to use it. So we structured our raid in a way where every now and then there was a crossover with the puddles and the manifestations, and on that one, I forget which manifestation set it was. We would drop the manifestations behind the Void Test. So on this set, it always lined up that I never actually needed to use the Wing Buffet, but I had it there ready to go if we were in danger. Okay, so they all get slowed down now. Other people have used their CCs. I did use my Oppressing Roar, by the way, because I knew other people's CDs are going to be there to like slow them down and hold them. So I did use my Oppressing Roar at that moment in time. Manifestations come out, and we have started on the collectors again. Now, the interesting thing about this one is what I was trying to tell you on the last sort of intermission. The manifestations are still at about 50% health, okay? So in this situation, I think it's worth me casting a max rank Fire Breath. They're at about 38% right now. I've cast my Engulf. They're down to about 25%, right? So that max rank Fire Breath with an Engulf, I know I wasn't the only one doing that damage there, but I think it's worth it. I'm still casting some Pyres right now. Look, there's another one going. I'd still just do a little bit of damage because I can do it as I'm heading over to the collector. Have a little spin around just to make sure there is no manifestations left, and now we're going into single target. Okay? Right, now, what's interesting about this is you are going to defeat these collectors whenever you defeat them, right? It's kind of hard to line this up. Everyone has different pace. But to be honest with you, if you leave it too long, everyone's going to die. So you should probably end up around the same time. Going back very quickly to the 4-minute mark, after we had, killed the collectors and we'd finished the damage amp, you'll notice that I used my Dragon Rage. I used my Dragon Rage after the damage amp. It feels weird, but trust me, it's the right thing to do because of what's about to happen at the 6-minute mark. So we are killing the collectors. standing in your corner. Make sure you use your defensives. Obsidian Scales and Renewing Blades are really, really powerful here. I actually got asked to go over to one of the other collectors because we were so far ahead on ours. I quickly switched just to help another team out. I went down to the south. South, I don't know if it's the south, it's like the east. It doesn't matter. I went over to this moon targeted collector and I helped out down the bottom here. Gets a little bit hairy. I popped both of my defensives. One additional thing I probably could have done differently is I could have stood behind the collector, and when I cast my Fire Breath, I probably could have caught the Echo and the Attendant. If I was standing and positioning myself here, I could have got some more damage on the Echo and Attendant behind it. Again, we were doing really well here, so I wasn't really thinking too much about increasing my damage. But looking back, that's definitely something I could have done. What you'll also do in this phase is use Bloodlust. Now, we had actually guidance to say wait until 30%. When the last one was on 30%, we used Bloodlust and we would finish off the collectors with it. We forgot, and Raid Leader calls Bloodlust at 15%, so we'd left it really late to call this Bloodlust. But that actually helped us out, I think. So we finished off the collectors, and what you'll see at the bottom is I have all of my cooldowns basically coming back up now. Dragon Rage is up, I've got Tip the Scales up, I've got 6 seconds until my second engulf. Everything except for Eternity Surge is ready to go, and we're in the middle of Dragon Rage. So I'm sitting here casting Living Flames because I want to get some Living Flame dots on there, but also it's given me some Essence Burst procs. I cast a Firestorm very quickly, and then I just go into a full Dragon Rage rotation. Now, I could have Pyred here for more damage, but we needed boss damage. So I went Disintegrate mode, okay? Disintegrate, Living Flame, Disintegrate, Disintegrate, Disintegrate. Everything you can to get this boss as low as possible. So we entered this final phase with about 11% of the boss remaining. This is the best we'd had so far. Now, you're going to be at this stage in the fight where you're constantly getting sucked down into the back or the void. I don't think I should have hovered. You get knocked back and I hover straight towards the boss. That was a waste, if you ask me. Yes, I get to the boss quickly, but the boss comes towards us anyway. And if anything, you really want the hovers to keep yourself on the platform towards the end of the fight. So everyone's just in full single target mode, and now you'll understand what I mean by the longer the fight goes on, the better it could be for your log, because the boss now starts spawning ads. All right. So I actually try and get a full rank Fire Breath off. I think I catch it. Shattering Star into an engulf. Make sure you spawn the ads in this back corner as much as possible. I'm hitting all my potions, my health stones, whatever I've got there. You can try and AoE cleave some here. I think I tossed like one pyre out. I have a Firestorm proc that I'm just not using. I probably could have done that as well. It's not about it. It's not about getting any more damage here. It's about killing Araz, and we had 1% left. So I was tossing out everything I could. People are getting caught left and right, flying around all over the place. The main thing is you want to make sure those manifestations do not go into the vortex, because that will wipe the boss. Anyway, that's the fight. Quite a lot going on. I think to make yourself have a good log, or make sure, you know, to get the most damage out of the Devastation Evoker, just make sure you focus on catching your Firestorms, pyring, lining up your Dragon Rage for the big damage amp, as you can see from my logs here. My biggest set of damage actually was from that damage amp with my Dragon Rage at the end of the fight, single targeting, not all of the other AoE damage in the middle. So yeah, make sure you have that. It might take some time to get used to positioning, avoiding the floor puddles. I think utilizing your hovers in the right way is a really, really important thing here. But overall, I think it was a good fight. Kind of hard to progress, but in the end, quite well made. I quite liked it, and it was a nice challenge. It was definitely a nice challenge. So yeah, good luck with the fight, and let me know if you have any questions.